This, my friends, is hands down the best pulled pork I've ever done on a Kamado. Let me show you how I did it. What's up, barbecue fans? My name is Jake, and today we're doing something just a little bit different. Much like you're doing right now, I spend some time watching YouTube and seeing what's going on. It helps me learn some new techniques, see what's going on in the barbecue world. And for the last year or so, lots of people have been talking about Barry Barbecue. He's actually got a YouTube channel as well, but it's one of the top 50 Texas barbecue monthly joints recently, and he's doing something a little different. Essentially what he's doing is he's doing a little bit of a cold smoke in the beginning to help get some more smoke flavor into it, but as he said, it started out because they were trying to get a little bit more sleep. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try that with a pork butt today. Before we can do that, we've got to get some seasoning prepped. So I've got my pepper can in, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna grind up some pepper, and I've got some Rio seasoning salt. You can see I used a little bit of it. Barry Barbecue uses this, and it's got just a little different flavor than a Lowry, so I'm excited to try it on pork. We're gonna keep it super, super simple. Let's get this guy ready. Nothing in there. Now, just for reference, when you get this filled up, this is about 3 tablespoons. The one thing you'll notice with the pepper can is you're gonna go through a lot of peppercorns. I've got just a little bit of 50-50 in here from a previous cook. Let's get one more. All right, just like that, we're full again. That gives us about 6 tablespoons of pepper to start with. Thank you, pepper can in. And we'll open this up, actually. The other thing about the seasonal is it's actually a little coarser than seasoned salt, so it mixes really well with pepper. We're doing a 50-50 today. Want to have some salt in this one. But as you can see here, it mixes really, really well. Very, very close to the 16 mesh pepper as far as size. Let's talk pork. So here's the star of our show today. When it comes to pork, there's a couple things you got to know. If you want to make the best pulled pork, you got to start with some high quality pork, right? There are a couple different options. This particular one is a heritage breed. I would use heritage at a minimum, right? Just a better quality, higher grade pork. The other options are Duroc and Berkshire. Now, I've done both. They are both highly respected as high quality pork, and they are slightly different. The Berkshire is a little bit darker in color and has a little bit of a sweeter taste than Duroc. But you know, if you're gonna make yourself some good pulled pork, we're gonna spend a bunch of hours out here. You should start with some good quality meat, because at the end of the day, the end product is only as good as what you start with, right? But you know, you can absolutely get some heritage. It's a little bit less money, and it's still a decent quality pork, okay? So for this guy, we're gonna start on the bottom, right? The top's gonna be our presentation side, so we wanna start here, and that way, we're not gonna mess up our presentation side. But we're gonna put a fairly heavy coating on this. Now, we just pulled this out of the package, so it's already fairly moist. You don't need a binder. It'll stick right to it. Just try and get an even coat. The higher you are away from the product, the easier it is to get a nice even coat. And we're gonna load this guy right up. Try and pack that in a little bit. And actually, this is pulling apart right there, so that's gonna be my finger flipping hole, but I'm gonna make sure it's got some seasoning in there. Then we'll do a presentation side. Now, traditionally, I think almost every time I've done pork, I have crosshatched this. Today, I'm gonna leave it as it is. Save that step. What I'm doing is I'm loading up my hand so I can pat on the sides. Don't forget to give your bottle a little shake here. Making this is here because we've got a little bit of moisture here, but it has not started to sweat yet. So there we have our pork nicely seasoned. We've got a good heavy coating all the way around. Now you're gonna notice my Kamado is not even started yet. Now on something like this, you really wanna give it a chance to sweat in. So what's gonna happen here is the salt is going to pull it a little bit of moisture, and you'll start to see this change color. All right, now you could absolutely dry brine this overnight, throw it in the fridge, and cook it tomorrow. You get even more flavor into it. But what you should do is you should always wait, 15, 20 minutes, even 30 minutes until this really sweats out before it goes in the fridge. And that'll help ensure that you get a better dry brine. For what we're gonna do is I'm going to leave it as it sits for a good 15, 20 minutes. And while I'm doing that, we're gonna start to fire up our Kamado. Today we're gonna use some Bear Mountain hardwood lump. We're also gonna use some Bear Mountain hickory chunks. Now you can use whatever wood you like. Cherry's nice, hickory's nice, oak is very, very common. I would not go too much heavier than hickory. You could also do pecan, which is really nice actually. But like a mesquite would be too heavy for this type of cook. What we're gonna do, so we're gonna put a couple pieces down here. We've got just a little bit of lump left here. You can always reuse that, no problems there. And for reference here, I'm using not quite half a basket. And we're actually not trying to get too big of a spotlet. We just got a little one here. We're gonna do a cold smoke here, so I don't wanna get too much lump burning, or we'll overshoot our temperatures too quickly. And right away, as part of our cold smoke here, we're gonna put a couple of these guys right on top. It'll start smoking right away. So we're gonna put our top rack here, but I am gonna leave this open in case I decide that I want a little bit more wood down the road. All right, so we've got our Kamado started here. We're gonna open this guy up. 1, 2, probably 1.5. All right, I've just got an inch on the bottom. We want this to come up to temperature super, super slow, and we're gonna try and keep it below 200. So I'm gonna end up dialing this back once it creeps up a little bit, and I expect we're gonna be open about a quarter turn on the top, okay? Just to give you an idea, maybe an eighth to sit at 200 for a little bit. As you can see, our meat has started to sweat out here. It's been almost 15 minutes by the time I move around the cameras and everything. You can really see on that side right there where it's nice and moist, right? So if you let this sweat a little longer, it's gonna even get darker. Now, the fat's not really gonna do that. It's more the meat around it, right? Today, I'm gonna use my Typer Sync. This is the Gold Duo, meaning it's got 2 meat probes here. They are a brand new partner to the channel, and I've been playing with it for a little bit. So far, I'm really liking what I see. But, one of the challenges with the Kamado is we're over 2 inches thick of refractory cement. So disconnects are my world when it comes to remote thermometers. So I was looking for another solution that had a whole bunch of bells and whistles that I liked, but I also wanted to have everything in one probe. So this guy's got 5 different sensors after this line, and then we've got a ceramic sensor at the top that's good for 932 degrees is the ambient. But where this really shines is we've got sub 1G, which means so far I've walked into my field 315 feet and not had a drop, okay? So you can actually monitor your temperatures right here. It says this is 77 right now. We're going to put this in the meat. And which side's our bone at? Here's our bone. All right, so I'm gonna come right here across the side. I'm lying. I'm gonna come back a little further, hit the bone. So this will give us ambient temperature, and we'll be able to track our cook. We're gonna set up a cook in our app. All right, so you can see our internal temperature right now. Sorry, someone's cutting their grass right now. Our internal temperature here is 31.9. What we're gonna do is we're going to set up a cook here, and we're gonna go to pork, and we're gonna go to a shoulder, and I'm gonna bump this all the way up. I'm not gonna, I will probably wrap this in the 180, so I think I'll leave it there. We don't need to see that again. I know how to do that part. The big thing is that line, and we'll start our cook. And you can see our ambient, because I was holding in my hand, is 81.5. and we've lasted a minute so far. So now what we'll do, we are up to about 100 degrees. So we're in good shape there. Now I put 2 big old pieces of lump right on top. We're gonna burn a heavier smoke. Now all over the internet, you have heard for years that dirty smoke is the enemy, and yes, white billowing dirty smoke for an entire cook is absolutely terrible. You will hate the food. But if you run a heavier smoke in the beginning, this has already started to clean up. It's gonna be a white billowing, like a white heavier smoke, but it's not the white billowing smoke. We're sitting right on top of the lump there. So we're gonna get a heavy smoke in the beginning, but that will clean up over time, and that will allow us to get a whole bunch of nice, good smoke flavor into our pork. Let me put this guy on and then I'll share the game plan. Gonna move those around just a little bit, just to help get a little bit more airflow there. That'll probably bring us up to about that 150. You can see we got a little bit of a flame here going, so that's good. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this guy right here. Let's get out of the shadow so you can actually see what's going on. So we'll get our ambient temp. Now look, my cutoff is here. This is all hot. This is my indirect side, okay? You don't need ceramic deflectors. We've got a big old cooking surface here. So we're gonna close that up because if you look down here, we're on fire. So we'll close this up. Now we know that we're really burning clean, and this will put out that fire. So here's our game plan. We're gonna go for about 2 hours, maybe 3 at around 200 degrees. Okay, we've already bumped right up to 200, so actually I'm gonna close this off here and I'm gonna go about 1/8 of a turn for now. We'll stop that from burning. It'll come right down. We had that fire in there, so obviously we've got a little bit of heat, but it'll come down, especially now that we've got some ice cold meat on there. 32 degrees, it just defrosted, so it's about as cold as you can get it. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let that roll for about 3 hours, and then we're gonna transition into more of a hot and fast cook. I'll bring you back when we're at that point. All right, so as we look at our app here, you can see that our meat is at 95.9 degrees. We've had 3 hours and 3 minutes elapsed so far, and a remaining time of 4 hours and 4 minutes at our current temperature. Our ambient sitting at 210 degrees. Our dome has creeped up to about 240. Slowly bringing it up. But what's happened here, let me just stop my recording real quick, is that about an hour ago, I was downstairs on YouTube and I remembered that I set it to 180. I wanted to see how much time I had left. So what I did is I edited my cook and I changed it to 204, which would be closer to our final temp, and it updated the estimated cook time. And remember, that's based at 200. So now we're gonna bump up our temperatures. The other cool thing is I took a picture of it, but you can see it on my watch. So I'm gonna take the dogs for a walk right now and be able to track the cook on my watch if I didn't have my phone with me. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna bump this up to 275, maybe 285. We're gonna open up this vent a little bit. I'm gonna go a quarter turn to help it get up. Probably not that much actually. It's already creeped up to 250, just a little bit more. If I bring you inside here, here's what our pork butt looks like. Looking good, nothing to do at this point in time with it. But if you look down here, you can see that we've got a couple pieces of wood left there that are gonna nicely smoke. Now we're gonna go close to 300 here, so I like some smoky food. I'm gonna add this is a smaller piece in there. Put that in the middle there. Remember, I've got a couple pieces across the bottom, so as this burns down, we will get some wood starting on fire that hasn't started quite yet. So now what we're gonna do, take the dogs for a walk, and I'll bring you back when it's time to wrap. So it's been 6 hours and 11 minutes. Our current temperature is 176.1. We're gonna call that close enough for what I'm trying to do. I'll give you a look at it real quick. As you can see, it's got some great color. You can see where the fat has started to separate, and it's looking really good. Big fat kind of rendered up over top of there, but looks pretty good. Now it's time to wrap it. So for the last couple hours here, we've been cooking at 300 at the ambient temperature on the probe. So about 305 on the dome, 310 on the dome. What we're going to do now is we're going to give this guy a good wrap. And the easiest way to pick up one of these things that's quite hot right now is to get yourself some of these cotton gloves. Get them on Amazon or whatever. They're very inexpensive. You can wash them, but they are great glove liners. So when you're picking up something hot, you've got some protection. Let's get this guy here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull out our probe, stick that there. We're going to give it a nice tight wrap. And we'll look for our bone, which is right there. So we'll take our Typher probe, we'll just stick it right back in there. Make sure you go past the line again. We're going to go in all the way, just like that. Then we'll put this guy right back where we took it from. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cook this until it is Instaprobe tender, right? I'm going to get my Typher Instaprobe out, and as we get to that 200 degree mark, I'll open it up and I'll probe it a little bit. Traditionally, pulled pork is going to go somewhere between 200 and 205, sometimes 206, depending on what it is. But we're going to probe it, and I'll let you know what time or what temperature it is when it's done. The one thing I forgot to mention about high quality pork is also when we shred it, lots of times when you use a low grade pork, you got to pick out a lot of stringy fat. When you use a high quality pork, you're really not picking out that much. So you don't get any of those horrible bites. You just get 100% great bites of pork. I'll see you in a few hours. All right, so your eyes are not deceiving you. It is the next day. The fall is here, and I completely forgot how early it was going to get dark. So it turned out to be a little too windy last night to bring up my lights, so I decided to throw it in my oven. Now, I have a warming oven, but in the interest of science, I put it in my other oven, my everyday oven, which happens to be a GE monogram. It's an older one, but it was an expensive oven in its time. And I just want to show you something real quick, because what I did once the pork was done, I just threw it in the oven, and you can see, if you look at the ambient temperature, look at the up and down in this app, right? Once I got it locked in, we were bouncing between 170 and 165, somewhere in there. And you know, I share this. It's been on hold for 16 hours, almost 17 hours. But I share this because in the pellet grill game, everyone obsesses over temperatures and they waste a whole bunch of time. You're gonna have swing. This is a very expensive oven, and I have swing. Typical ovens can have upwards of 50-degree swings. It's not uncommon. You didn't have any terrible food because of it before, and you're not going to have any in the future. You just got to realize it's just part of the game. So this guy, what I ended up doing is I brought it up to about 200. I think I carried it over to 202 while I was preparing. I saw how dark it was. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to turn on my oven. And what I did, and you can actually see in the cook, and I'll show it up on the screen here, but I let it rest on the counter for a little bit while my oven preheated, because I didn't want it to go too far over. And then I put it in the oven and dialed in my temperature. Now my oven will go a little lower than 170, so I was tweaking the temperatures in the beginning until I got it dialed in. But with all that being said, we've got a butt to try. Still hot, so I'm going to, oh, the dogs are here already, smelling pork. I mean, they're always hungry, but pork is one of their favorite things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull out, butter smooth, my Typher sink probe here, and we're going to open this guy up. I'm going to try and get it out of this container. I want to keep the juice that's in here, but I want to put it on the cutting board. So we can have a little look. Let's challenge is it's going to be super tender. I'm trying to get it out in one piece is going to be fun. Oh, wow. Get a nice whiff of that already. Come here, beautiful. Tell me that thing doesn't look absolutely delicious. Got some good fat breakdown here and some good bark. Nice and soft because it was wrapped for so long. But some good coverage except for where we split on the fat. But that's not going to matter too much. Let me just try a little bit. I'm going to pull out the bone here in a sec, but I am curious here. Just a little bit. Nice smoke ring on there. Wow, that, my friends, has a bunch of smoke on it. More than I expected, to be honest. I'm gonna try and get in just a little deeper here, just so I can see if we can still taste some of this smoke here. Not as much, but I'll tell you what, you mix in that bark with it, you're gonna have an absolutely delicious sandwich. The dogs love some pork. There you go, good job. That, my friends, is one of the best pork butts I've ever done on a Kamado style cooker. Like by leaps and bounds. If you have not tried a long, slow, cold smoke in the beginning to help get some smoke into it, put your meat on really cold, smoke it below 200 for 3 or 4 hours, and you will be amazed at the amount of smoke flavor. It's not over the top. It just is some great, great smoke flavor. Now, I was planning on making a vinegar sauce for this video. Unfortunately, you kind of need vinegar for that to happen. I just assumed I had vinegar. I knew I had everything else. You can make it with white vinegar or apple cider vinegar, and I was out of both. But if vinegar sauce interests you and you haven't tried it, I highly recommend you do it, because I held off on it for I held off for a long time, and then I tried it. I was like, man, why didn't I try this stuff sooner? That being said, I have a video right here where I show you the recipe that I use, and I give you a comparison between white vinegar and apple cider vinegar. There is a pretty interesting difference. That's all I got for you today. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you soon.